Right now, somewhere in your house, there is a light switch. And if the power went out tonight, and you were standing in total darkness, alone, unable to see your own hand in front of your face, something very old inside you would wake up. Your heart would speed up. Your skin would prickle. Your ears would strain for sounds you normally never notice. You would tell yourself there is nothing there. And some part of your brain, a part older than language, older than fire, older than the human species itself, would not believe you. That feeling is not irrational. It is not childish. It is a survival circuit that has been running inside the human brain for over 1 million years. Because for most of human history, the dark was not empty. It was full. Full of teeth. And the story of what hunted our ancestors at night will explain why, even now in a world with streetlights and smartphones and locked doors, you still feel it. The fear never left. It just stopped having anywhere to go. Chapter 1. The Hunted, Not the Hunter for Decades. Popular imagination painted early humans as fearsome hunters, spears in hand, masters of the food chain. The fossil record tells a very different story. In 2005, anthropologists Donna Hart and Robert Sussman published a body of evidence showing that early hominins were, for most of their evolutionary history, prey, not occasionally, routinely. Fossilized skulls from early human ancestors have been found with puncture marks that match the spacing of leopard fangs exactly. Bones recovered from cave sites show the unmistakable gnaw patterns of hyenas. Our ancestors were not the apex predator of their world. They were on the menu, and almost every animal capable of killing them, lions, leopards, hyenas, saber-toothed cats, shared one critical advantage that early humans did not have: night vision. While our ancestors were nearly blind after sunset, their predators were just getting started. Darkness did not just hide danger from early humans. It erased their only real defense: the ability to see a threat coming. Chapter 2. A World Built to Kill You. After dark, imagine standing in the African savanna 100,000 years ago as the sun drops below the horizon. There is no fire yet. Fire use was not universal or constant for much of early human history. There is no shelter with a locking door. There is only open grassland, scattered trees, and a sky going black. And somewhere out there, a leopard's eyes, built with a reflective layer behind the retina called the tapetum lucidum, are adjusting perfectly to the dark. Your pupils dilate as far as they can. It is not enough. You are, in the most literal sense, walking blind through a world where something can see you perfectly. This was every single night, for hundreds of thousands of years, for every human who ever lived before artificial light existed. Generation after generation after generation. Anyone who treated the dark casually, who wandered carelessly after sunset, who slept in the open without caution, did not survive long enough to pass that carelessness on. Only the anxious ones did. Only the ones whose hearts pounded at a snapped twig. Only the ones who stayed close to the group when the light failed. Chapter 3. The birth of a survival circuit deep in your brain. There is a small, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. It is one of the oldest parts of the human brain, and its job has not changed in a very long time. It exists to detect threats, fast, before conscious thought can even catch up, faster heartbeat, dilated pupils, tensed muscles, heightened hearing. All of it, automatic. All of it, before you have even decided to be afraid. Darkness is uniquely effective at triggering this system, for a simple reason. Your amygdala does not deal well with ambiguity. When you cannot see, every shape becomes a possible threat. And evolution discovered something important about this kind of uncertainty. A false alarm cost almost nothing. A moment of fear over a noise that turned out to be wind. But a missed alarm, failing to react to a noise that turned out to be a leopard, cost everything. Your life, your genes, your entire lineage ended in a single night. So evolution did not build a brain that was accurate about danger in the dark. It built a brain that was paranoid about it, on purpose. Chapter 4. How the Fear Was Inherited. Here is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. You did not learn to fear the dark the way you learned to fear, say, a hot stove. Children as young as 2 years old, who have never been harmed in darkness, who have no memory of any predator, still show measurable fear responses to roughly half of all children go through a pronounced fear of the dark, completely independent of culture, upbringing, or personal experience. This is not something you were taught. This is something you were born with. A program, pre-installed, passed down through hundreds of thousands of generations of ancestors who needed it to survive long enough to have you. And the imagination plays its part too. When the brain cannot get real visual information, it does not simply go quiet. It fills the gap with shapes, with movement. With monsters, researchers have pointed out that this is precisely why horror films almost never show you the monster directly in its scariest moments. Because whatever your own brain invents in the dark will always be worse than anything a filmmaker can put on screen. Your ancestors' brains were doing the exact same thing, 10,000 generations ago, staring into the black tree line beyond the firelight, filling the silence with claws and eyes and teeth, because a brain that assumed the worst and was wrong woke up the next morning. A brain that assumed the best and was wrong did not. Chapter 5. The invention that changed everything. And then, somewhere between 1 million and 400,000 years ago, something happened that altered the entire trajectory of human survival. Early humans learned to control fire. This was not just about warmth or cooked food, though both mattered enormously. Fire was, for the first time in the history of our species, a weapon against the dark itself. Predators that had hunted humans freely for millions of years suddenly faced something they had never evolved to handle. Controlled, deliberate light that did not flicker out, that pushed back the night, that turned a fraction of the killing hours back into something survivable. Archaeological sites show early humans clustering tightly around hearths after dark, evidence of communities organizing their entire nightly existence around a single, flickering circle of safety. The fire did not remove the fear. It gave the fear somewhere to put itself. Inside the circle of light, relative safety, the faces of your people, warmth. Outside that circle, the unknown. And the boundary between those two worlds, the edge of the firelight, became one of the most psychologically loaded spaces a human being could occupy. We still feel an echo of it. The particular comfort of a lit room with the curtains closed against the night outside. The specific unease of a single candle guttering in a dark house. That is not a modern invention. That is 100,000 campfires, still burning, somewhere in the architecture of your brain. Chapter 6. When the fear was right, we tend to assume that ancient humans who feared the dark were simply being emotional, the way modern culture treats the fear as a phase children outgrow. But evolutionary biologists frame it differently, and the framing matters. Imagine two early humans living side by side. One feels nothing unusual after sunset, calm, confident, willing to wander from the group to relieve themselves, gather water, or investigate a sound alone in the dark. The other feels a surge of dread the moment the light fails, stays close to the fire, stays near the group, treats every shadow as a possible threat until proven otherwise. Across a single lifetime, the difference might mean nothing. Across thousands of lifetimes, repeated across an entire species, it meant everything. The calm ones, slowly, generation by generation, were edited out of the gene pool by leopards, hyenas, and lions. The anxious ones were not. Their fear was not a flaw in the system. Their fear was the system working exactly as designed, doing precisely what it evolved 1 million years to do. Chapter 7. A fear with nowhere to go. And this is where it gets strange, because you are not living in that world anymore. You have electric light. You have locked doors, alarm systems, a phone that can summon help in seconds. The leopards are gone, for almost everyone who will ever watch this video. And yet the circuit remains, fully wired, fully functional, still firing exactly as it did for your ancestors. This is why a parking garage at night can make your chest tighten for no clear reason. Why a hallway with a burnt-out bulb feels different, heavier, than the same hallway in daylight. Why children invent monsters under the bed with no prompting whatsoever in nearly every culture that has ever been studied, independently, again and again. The brain is not malfunctioning in these moments. It is running flawlessly. It is simply running a program written for a world that, for most of us, no longer exists. A survival circuit with nothing left to survive, still standing guard anyway. Because evolution does not update its software just because the threat went extinct. Chapter 8. What this means for you, you are not broken when the dark makes you uneasy. You are not childish or irrational or weak. You are carrying forward the single most successful survival strategy your ancestors ever developed, a strategy so effective that every human being alive today is descended, without exception, from people who took the dark seriously. Every single one of your ancestors, across more than 1 million years, across ice ages and migrations and famines and predators long extinct, lived to pass on their genes. The calm ones did not. You are the end result of an unbroken chain of people who got nervous at the right moments. That feeling you get when the lights go out, the prickling skin, the straining ears, the certainty that something is just beyond what you can see. That is not your imagination malfunctioning. It is a message sent across 100,000 generations from every ancestor who ever stood at the edge of the firelight and stared into the black tree line and decided correctly to stay close to the others. It is the oldest inheritance you own. Older than your name, older than your language, older than the idea of your family. It was passed down, not in words, but in fear itself. The lions are gone. The leopards are gone. The hyenas no longer wait in the grass outside your door. But the circuit they built inside you is still standing, lit up, fully armed, waiting for a threat that will almost certainly never come again. And maybe that is not something to be embarrassed about. Maybe that is something to respect. Because somewhere, a very long time ago, in the dark, your ancestors were afraid. And that fear is the entire reason you are here to feel it too.